Who doesn't love catching bass on topwater in the summertime? It is exciting, it gets your heart pounding. From bigs to smalls, topwater, you enjoy them all. Every hit, I don't think I've ever been disappointed in a topwater hit in my entire life. And I know a few guys that have been lucky enough to double up on some topwaters, and I've came close. I've had 2 on, but lose 1 at the boat. Well, I've got something that's a play on an old school rig that'll get you doubles this summer. What am I talking about? Now, you geeks know I love my heading one knocker during the summer. This little lure right here has caught a ton of bass. Big bass, little bass, medium-sized bass. But today we teamed it up with this. This is the Bill Lewis Zig Zag. And I really decided to play with this today. There was a lure kind of like this that was around years back, and it was called the Front Runner. Now, I had a couple of them, enjoyed them. Didn't throw them a lot. I don't think a lot of people did throw them a lot. And so they eventually disappeared off the market. But I would highly recommend going and picking one of these up. I picked up a couple of them because I wanted to try them out. I had not tried the Bill Lewis Zigzag out yet. And basically what makes up the Zigzag is you've got a very light, very floating head. It feels very hollow. I don't think there's no sound to it, no rattles. And so you've got a line tie on the nose. Now, just above that, on the back, you've got a line tie so that you can go back to your bait. Now that looks like a little bit of line, but in the water, it really is about right. Now that's probably about 1.5 foot of line, how I've got it tied on. You can make it closer so that it'll work. Now, I will say this, in testing this, I didn't get a lot of zigzag out of the Zigzag. It was more of a sort of a pop and really, but this bait I got a ton of walking action out of. And I didn't tie a loop knot, which I would normally tie on this bait. I'm really interested in seeing if I'd get even more. But this bait did come through, and a lot of the bites we were having today were actually on the Zigzag because I think of the feathered treble, and it's a smaller profile right now, and they're feeding on some smaller profile bait fish. Now, I really believe we were super close to getting a double on this today, but I messed up. It's my fault. But this is a really interesting bait, and it's a new play, and it's something that over the years the bass have seen this, they've heard that sound, and I really think this is going to get us a ton more bites this year when those bass are out there over open water. So now let me show you how I rig this up. So what I did is I went ahead and I cut off a little bit of line from the rod that I'm going to use. I went ahead and tied it on using a pitsine knot. Now, like I said, I'm really interested in maybe trying a loop knot on here to see if I can even get it, because one thing I've noticed in using the Zigzag is that this bait doesn't move forward as much. You can really keep it pretty still, and I'm pretty amazed at that. So we might tie a loop knot on and try it later, but for right now, we just tied a pitsine on. No O-ring to it either. And now we're going to tie to the back of the Zigzag. We're just going to tie a pitsine again. Now, one thing that I was pretty impressed with, me and Mike both were kind of wondering upon casting if this was going to snag the line, and it never happened one time today. All right, we're just going to spin it around a couple times, go through that top, cinch her down, moisten a little bit, and cinch her down again. We're going to take our K9 cutters, snip it off. Now, like I said, I was really surprised. It may change if you have a shorter leader, or a longer leader. But I was really surprised we never had the first issue. I'm sure rod, reel, and line is going to matter a lot when it comes to casting this and keeping it from fouling up too. We'll talk more about that in just a minute. But right now, we're just going to talk about tying on to our main line. And again, we're just going to tie a pit seam knot. Now, we're not going to twirl things around this time. I've stabbed myself with it repeatedly. So all we're going to do right here is we're just going to wrap it around 5 times. Go through that top loop. Cinch it down. Wet it down. Pull it down. Get my canine cutters out. And there you have it. We are tied on. Now, let's talk about rod, reel, and line setup. So when it comes to the Zigzag and pretty much any topwater bait, any walking bait, now you might downsize, but my full size walking baits, I like to use, and this has been my go-to for quite a while now. This is the TFO Taction. It's a 7.3 medium heavy fast action. I like that 7.3. It gives me a little bit more distance out of it, and this thing can handle 3/8 to like an ounce. So it can handle some bigger topwater baits that I like to throw. Now I've got that coupled with a VLD10 from Fitzgerald. This is a 7.2 to 1. I like to keep it down in that 7.0, 7.2. You're not going to see me go much faster than that because you can move the bait or the line more than you move the bait with the rod, and that's not good when it comes to the walking baits. For the line, I've got 14-pound test monofilament. You just use your favorite monofilament. This is probably Berkeley Smooth Casting, something like that. I'll put links in the description for you. Believe it or not, it's pretty easy to walk the bait. Now, like I said, I hadn't seen this do much in the way of a zigzag. It's more of just a pull, but we've had a lot of bass come up and bite the head, which is a sign they're chasing maybe smaller bait fish. I think it works so well because it looks like a predator fish chasing a smaller bait fish. They're either going to outcompete for the bait or they're going to decide they want the big meal all themselves. And like I said, to work this bait, you literally just throw it out there and walk it the exact same way that you would if it was just this bait on here. And you'll get a nice wide action. Now, like I said, I don't have a loop knot tied on here. I haven't had one tied on it all day, and we've caught fish. I do want to test that out at some point in time and see if we'll get a wider walk out of it and maybe a little more zigzag if this bait is pulling on it a little bit more. This bait doesn't have a lot of resistance, like say a Vixen or a Sexy Dog, something like that. You know, it's smooth nosed, which is one of the reasons why I like it in clear water. But you just make a long cast. I let it sit there for just a second, and then I start walking it back. Now, I'll change up retrieves, you know, do that, walk it fast, walk it slow, stop and go, that sort of thing. Figure out what the bass want. And it can be something different every single day. You geeks know that. When they come up and bite it, what I like to do is just keep walking until I feel the weight of the fish. I think that's the best way. And once you feel the weight of the fish, go ahead and side set and bring them in. If you're lucky, one of them will come up and grab this back bait if it's got the front, or one to come grab this bait if they got the back. And you will double, maybe even triple up. I think we're going to get to do that a couple times this year. I cannot wait because we're just at the beginning of the schooling topwater in my area. So everybody, T's and P's for me, okay? Now, one thing that really drives me insane is that people talk about, well, this topwater's better than that. Topwater baits, just like crankbaits, just like worms, just like every bait ever made, is a situational bait. And I've got a great video talking and breaking down what topwaters do what, where they shine at, and what they're best at. So just remember, one walking bait is not like the other. There are times when you can use one over the other to maximize your catch. And really, brand doesn't matter because there's a whole bunch of them out there. Sound will be the caveat or the difference to that. When there is a different sound to a bait, sometimes that'll matter more than the action of the lure, if they've seen that bait or heard that sound a lot. All right, and if you want to watch that video, go check it out right here. Otherwise, questions, comments in the comment section below. Like it if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you ring that bell. Be part of the 100% Watch Squad. And daggone it, you geeks rock.